You know, guys, one of my favorite films from back in the day, one of my favorite movies to watch as a kid, which I probably should not have watched as many times as I did, was Revenge of the Nerds. This movie did kind of let me think that the nerdy kid that I was, right, the geeky kid that I was, would potentially in college bet a cheerleader. Although that's a problematic scene in and of itself. And look, as much as I love this movie, and we'll be talking a little bit about that scene here in a few. Yeah, no, that was a problem. And I don't think the 30 some odd years have necessarily made this, made this thing any better. But what we're talking about today is the fact that, word is coming out now that Revenge of the Nerds sequel is happening with Disney, and that apparently the original cast is going to be back, which makes no damn sense to me, none whatsoever. But here's the thing: before we jump in, do me a solid, hit that like. Go ahead and hit that like. Go ahead and smash it real hard. Try to get to, let's say, 200. I think 200 should be a pretty good amount. It helps out with YouTube algorithm too. Anyway, Revenge of the Nerds sequel happening. Let's find out more. So, the original Revenge of the Nerds cast is reportedly reuniting and setting up a new movie. This summer marked the 35th anniversary of the first installment. The original movie is considered to be a 1980s classic, and it absolutely is. It absolutely is. I do love that movie, even the crazier stuff aside. But they go on to say that the sequels that followed, including the made-for-TV movies, were not received very well at all. In addition, looking back at the 1984 movie shows a different time in Hollywood and contains some pretty controversial scenes that some may call problematic, which they do. However, it does sound like the gang wants to be back for a new movie going on. It has been reported, and there's no link to where this is coming from. This is like, I think, a Movieweb article. There's no link to where it's being reported, so I don't quite know. Anyway, this is rumor, grain of salt type stuff. It's been reported that Disney is behind the upcoming Revenge of the Nerds sequel. Since Disney owns Fox, that would make sense. But is Disney really going to put out a sequel to the 1984 movie? Robert Carradine, who stars as Louis Skolnick, is back at Disney for the Lizzie McGuire sequel series, so he may have been able to hold some meetings about a potential Nerds revival. Timothy Busfield, Larry B. Scott, Curtis Armstrong, Brian Tochi, and Andrew Cassesi were among the original lineup, and they could all be returning. Now, the thing to remember about that is that it's rumor, it's a grain of salt. It's just a grain of salt. We don't quite know. But if we could see the return of the Lambda crew, I'd be very happy with that. Like I said, this is a movie that I've watched so many times as a kid, and its sequels and everything else. And if they wanted to go back to do it, like, I would be okay with it. They actually did try. I want to say in '05, there Fox Atomic, right, when they were trying to do their low budget comedy stuff. They were doing a Comic-Con thing for the new Revenge of the Nerds, like a casting call. And then they cast a guy as the new Louis Skolnick. And it was like some online internet personality dude, I think. They released one little thing, a promotional thing, like he had won this contest, apparently, like, legitimately, which we all know is not true. And then the movie just failed to go anywhere. And I think the studio closed with the Whitest Kids You Know film Miss March tanking, even though it was a pretty funny movie. But anyway, Lambda stayed with this particular crew, and that's good. Except, like I said before, when people called it as being kind of problematic, yeah, I mean, this is going back 3 years ago. There was talk about this, right? So that happened. Lewis was a rapist in Revenge of the Nerds, and they're talking about this scene right here with Betty Childs. And yeah, there's no other way to describe that particular scene, right? There is no other way to describe that scene. It is absolutely that. Now, some could argue, ineffectively, I might add, I'm going to say this, ineffectively, that because the two of them got together after the fact, that it was okay, right? Because, I mean, even right there, they've already done the deed. She realizes that it was a nerd. She doesn't scream or run or say anything, say no. And then he proceeds to go, and boldly go make a run for the border, go down under, sort of thing. And she's cool with it afterward. So, I mean, it's like, if there's no victim, no crime sort of thing. I mean, like, there's a lot to unpack with this particular scene. But then again, this movie came out in the 1980s. No one had a problem with it. A couple years later, we got Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise. which I thought was a fun movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Not as good as the first movie, but it definitely took the 80s summer raunch to a whole new level. Gave us a lot more a lot more snot. There we go. Barf, not this Spaceballs. 1980s, right? 1980s. But anyway, not only did we get this one, we got these two films too. These are both made for TV movies. Revenge of the Nerds 3, The Next Generation, and Revenge of the Nerds 4, Nerds in Love. Now, funny thing about Revenge of the Nerds 3 is at the time, Louis Skolnick became a tech billionaire. And he was back at Adams College. In fact, him and Betty were still together. They had been married. They got married after college. And then he went on to make a lot of money. And then the Alpha Beta guy, Ted McGinley's character, whose name I forget, was running Adams College and was trying to screw over Louis Skolnick, all until the end of the movie when we discovered that he, in fact, is really a nerd too, just like Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds Part 2. Now, if you look at Revenge of the Nerds 4 here, Nerds in Love, it is simply using that, by the way, that is the official box art for it. Okay. And that is showing the characters from the original movie, right? Actually, Poindexter's from the original movie. Lewis, I believe, is from the original movie, and the other guys are all from Nerds in Paradise. They just that's the box art that they made. But in that movie, they had a 3D fight scene or food fight scene in a cafeteria that was shot in 3D, aired on Fox in 3D. And you had to go to 7-Eleven to get special 3D glasses to watch Revenge of the Nerds 4, Nerds in Love. I'm not even kidding you. They hyped that movie up so much back in the day. It was great. I loved it. I absolutely loved what they did with it. It was so creative for the mid-90s on TV. I watched it on a black and white television. Did not work very well. But I mean, this franchise in and of itself is so interesting on so many fronts in regards to how it portrayed comedy from back in the 80s and then how it lived on with TV movies, and how there's been this constant desire to bring it back. And we are in the realm of remakes and reboots. As much as I don't think we need it, I don't think it would be as funny. If the original cast is involved, I'm kind of intrigued. And the thing is, even on Rotten Tomatoes, it's still rocking a 70%. It's not certified fresh because it doesn't meet the 60 critic threshold, although the critics nowadays would be terrible at it. But the audience likes it 73% with 56,000 ratings. I mean, it's just insane. So at the end of the day, a Revenge of the Nerds movie coming back is something that I would be down for. And I normally really dislike remakes and reboots and all this stuff. I think it would be fun. And I think it would be fun if done the right way. And if we could see a return to some of these 80s comedies where maybe some of the jokes get updated, but the general humor is still the same, that would be great. Because what we're missing now in my mind is that type of comedy. We're missing those types of movies that have we don't get the 80s comedies anymore. I think that's one of the reasons why Hangover did so well. It felt like an 80s comedy, like a bachelor party-esque comedy. We don't get those anymore. And I think people are wanting a comeback, and perhaps Revenge of the Nerds is going to be it. But anyway, your thoughts, your opinions, let me know down below in the comment section. Be sure to leave a big like. Remember, guys, the goal here is 200. With your help, YouTube's algorithm won't forget this channel, because that's really where it's at. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you again so much for watching. Have yourself a great day, guys. And peace out.